Right, our glass is now resting on some blue toweling. In its set of 6, we have 8 samples, so I ran another 2 pieces of glass for our permanent mounting. And then usually I'll write on my blue tissue the measurement that the glass ground. And we know this was 1.75, or actually 2.75 when we correct that for the loss, of the mil on the sample plate, as we discussed before. So we're going to walk over to the fume cupboard, and we're actually going to begin to work with our sample slices finely. So let me put the camera where you can actually see that in a minute, but we'll sit here and talk for a second. This is the first time we've actually began to work with our samples since we cut them. And I have got some glass that I used for sample grinding about a week ago, so it's still dirty. So one of the first jobs you need to do is take your blade and you just run it across the surface to clear any muck, but also to clear the super glue, which actually, the reason that I leave the glass sitting in a box for about a week is it allows that super glue to release. So it's an easier job to then just take your blade and scrape it off. So I'll let you watch that for a minute. Like I say, it's just taking that blade and scraping off the super glue, right? And any muck, excess muck that is sitting on the top of the glass. Right, got our last 2. And you can hear the blade when it hits the super glue. You can. And I would say, I used to teach the students to work away from themselves when you're using a blade. It's a Stanley knife blade, folks. You can buy them in the DIY or on eBay, not eBay, but Amazon, sorry. So yeah, this is a standard supply in the sectioning lab. Okay, so I stopped telling them to work everything with the blade away, although it makes perfect sense. It's actually quite clumsy, and I think more accidents can happen by not working in a comfortable way for safety than working in a comfortable way but being aware of what you're doing. So let me show you this one, guys. You can see the last dots of super glue left, and this is sat in my box on the bench for a week. So let's try scraping that off. It should be fine. Yeah, it just comes right off if you have a look. Now, if it doesn't, you can soak it with acetone. You can try to soak it with acetone and then come back and give it another go. But normally I'll have ground on a coarse wheel grind. We will mark our glasses with an X, and we'll let the coarse wheel create a surface that is useful in this stage to glue the samples to the glass. The coarse has just got a bit more texture, I guess, for the glue to grab on, and then for the sample to grab onto that glue. If that makes any sense. So same procedure as using the fine wheel when we're making our permanent mount glass, but we're using a coarse wheel to create our temporary mount glass. And I'll make about, say if I'm doing small slides, 2 sets of 6 so that I can always be gluing one set up while the other set is running. And you can piggyback really well by having enough glass in your box to do that. And if it breaks, always refresh it, make another set of 6. So the next thing to do is we're going to use our acetone to clean the glass, and I'll just demonstrate what I mean by flooding the glass and pulling the acetone off. Because all time, students in past times would put acetone on the glass and then they'd sit there and furiously rub, just making the glass more dirty and a harder task than it needs to be. So I'm going to go turn the fume cupboard on. In case you can't hear me, what we're going to do is flood the glass and then take our tissue and pull from the top to the bottom. Don't rub furiously, and you'll see why when I show you. Okay, I'm going to go turn our fume fan on for the fume cupboard, and then I'll come back and demonstrate that. Okay, here we go. Okay, so you can see that very quickly what we removed is the oil and dirt that remained on the glass. So flooding it with enough acetone pulls that oil up, and then the tissue just pulling it from the top to the bottom of the glass is going to take that oil in solution in the acetone off into your tissue. Clean it. If that didn't work in one, you can spray your tissue to do a final clean with acetone and just go over where you see oil streaks. So I'm going to just turn the camera off while we get ready to glue up, and then we're going to go through using our super glue to glue our sample slices, which we pre-marked after cutting, onto the glass.